Moving on to our next chapter, which is the respiratory system. What are the different parts of respiratory system? The first part is the nasal cavity through which we actually breathe in and breathe out. The nose, which consists of nostrils, mouth for the people who have a mouth breathing, and bronchus, bronchioles, alveoli, diaphragm. We will be discussing all these parts. So, these are the various parts of a respiratory system. Now, what is the function of respiratory system? The function of respiratory system is that it provides oxygen from the air, from the outside air to the cells, so that these cells can act and convert the food into energy. This is a function of respiratory system. What actually respiration is? Respiration is that process of taking in and taking out of oxygen, or taking in or breathing out, and this is occurring through a system, a well organized system, which we call as the respiratory system. Now moving on to various parts of this respiratory system. The first part is the nasal cavity, which we call nose. It is actually an entrance for outside air to enter into the respiratory system. There are various hairs that line the inside wall of these nostrils, and these air act as a air cleansing system. Air, sometimes it also enters the inside lungs through mouth, and in those people who have a mouth breathing habit, and those people in which the nasal passages are obstructed. It actually happens during cold too. When nasal passages are obstructed, the people usually are thought to take breath through the mouth. The pharynx, which is a throat, it collects the incoming air from the nose and passes it downward to the trachea, which is a windpipe. The next component is the larynx. Larynx forms the entrance to the lower respiratory system with the help of epiglottis, which is a leaf-like, flap-like structure, which is epiglottis. The larynx prevents the food or liquid from entering the lower respiratory tract by swelling. So, it maintains a barrier between the food and between the respiratory parts, so that the food do not get mixed into the respiratory tract when you are swallowing the food. So, this is what larynx or epiglottis is supposed to do. The next is the trachea, which is actually a windpipe. It is a passage which leads from the pharynx and to the lungs. From pharynx to lung, this path is known as trachea. The trachea, it further divides into two tubes, and these two tubes are known as bronchi. One bronchi leads to each lung, both right and left lung. So, two bronchi, two tubes, one to each lung, and these bronchi further divide into bronchioles. So, this is what a nasal cavity is, this is what the nostril looks like, and this is we take in air, breathe in and out through the mouth. The next is the bronchi or bronchioles. Since I have told you that there are two bronchi, two tubes which are leading to each of the lung, to the right lung and other to the left lung, and this bronchi, they also contain a C-shaped cartilage like structure which is known as trachea. Deeper in the lung, each bronchi will divide into primary, secondary. This is the primary bronchi, which is actually a single tube which moves into lungs. It will further divide into secondary and tertiary bronchi, which continue to branch to smaller airways, and these airways through which air is passing, the secondary and tertiary bronchi, they are known as bronchioles. So, one is the primary bronchi, which is a major bronchi, and then moving into the lungs, these bronchi further divides into various other pathways, various other tubes, and these tubes are known as bronchioles. The next, this bronchioles, they end into air sac like structure, and these sac like structure where these bronchioles actually end up, these are known as alveoli. All the alveoli, they bunch together so that they can form alveolar sacs. So, alveolar sacs are actually the bunching of all the alveoli, and this is a alveolar, it forms a sac like structure, we call it alveolar sac. On the surface of each alveoli, you have a network of capillaries, and these network of capillaries which are placed on the surface of this alveolar sacs, they carry blood that has come through veins or from other parts of the body. So, this blood supply is occupied, this blood supply is provided by the capillary like structure, and gaseous exchange also occur on the surface of this alveolar sacs. Carbon dioxide from the blood is exchanged for the oxygen from the alveoli, and after the blood gets oxygenated, when the oxygen gets mixed with the blood gets oxygenated, and this oxygenated blood, it goes to hearts, which is present between the two lungs, where it is pumped out to all of the body tissues. So, this oxygenated blood, which was formed by the mixing of oxygen with the blood, this oxygenated blood, it moves to heart, and on moving to heart, this blood is purified and it is pumped out to all the body tissues and all the extremities. And when we breathe out, the carbon dioxide is exhaled and expelled out from the body. So this is what happens when we breathe in and breathe out. So lungs, they are the main organs of the respiratory system, because all the processes of all the alveolar sacs, bronchi, bronchioles, primary, secondary, tertiary, all of them are present in the lungs. So in the lungs, the oxygen is taken into the body and carbon dioxide is breathed out. Oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is taken out, and the RBCs which are present in the blood, they are responsible for picking up the oxygen. They contain a pigment which is known as hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is known to pick up the oxygen in the lungs and then carry these oxygen to the body cells which need oxygen. So this is what this RBC or the blood is supposed to do. It carries the oxygen, it is an oxygen carrier and carries this oxygen to all the body cells. The red blood cells, they later drop off the oxygen to body cells, and then what are they doing? Where they are picking up the oxygen, dropping up to the site, dropping up to various body cells, and what they do, they pick up the carbon dioxide from those cells, which is a waste gas product right now, which is not needed by those body cells. So it picks up those carbon dioxide and put it out of the body. So this is what RBCs are known to do. RBCs does this with the help of a pigment which is present in them, which is known as a hemoglobin. Now, right lung and left lung, they have a different structure, and even they have a different size too. Right lung is divided into 3 lobes, or 3 lobes are 3 just segments or sections, and the left lung is divided into 2 lobes. Now, what is the diaphragm? Diaphragm is a wall muscular structure which is actually present below the chest cavity. It separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. So this is a barrier between the chest cavity and between the abdominal cavity. When this diaphragm moves down, when you are taking in of air, we're taking in of the oxygen, because during breathing in you need to expand your lungs so that maximum amount of air can be taken in. So what happens during this, the diaphragm, it moves downwards so that maximum air can be taken in. When we exhale, the diaphragm, it has to relax now, so that's why it returns to its normal structure, and then air is forced out of the lungs. So it moves upward during exhalation. During inhalation, this diaphragm is known to move downward so that it can take maximum amount of air in. Now this is what trachea, and this is how lungs look like, and these are various branches of the alveoli and bronchi and bronchioles. Now I have told you that left lung and right lung, they don't have a same size, they are different in sizes. So how this size is varying? The right lung is larger and it has more lobes. I've told that right lung has 3 lobes, whereas left lung, it has 2 lobes, or we can say 2 segments. This is because heart is located on the left side and it takes some space, and that's why the left lung would have been there if heart was not there. So that's why there is a difference between the size of right lung and left lung, because of the presence of heart which is taking the space which was supposed to be occupied by the left lung. So this is the reason why there is a difference between the size of right lung and the size of the left lung. Now the reason why we yawn when we are sleepy or drowsy, what happens, our lungs, they are not able to take enough oxygen from the air. So this causes a shortage of oxygen in our bodies, and once there is a shortage of oxygen in our body, brain senses this shortage of oxygen and it sends a message that causes us to take a deep breath, and this deep breath is known as yawn or yawning. So this is why people yawn. And what happens when we sneeze, and why do we sneeze? So what is the reason of sneeze? Sneezing is just like a cough, or it is an obstruction in the breathing passages. Actually, it is a body ways it is a body's method so that it can remove any irritant which occurs in the passage of the oxygen in the respiratory path. So it is just to remove any irritant from the sensitive mucous membrane. The mucous membrane, or the hairy like structures which are present in the nose, they are very sensitive, and whenever any irritant is occupied, or anything which is irritant is present in the nose, we are known to sneeze. Many things can irritate the mucous membrane. There are some people who have a allergy, or who sneeze when they smell pollens, or they have infection, they have allergy from pepper, dust, or even a cold blast of air. It can result in sneezing because it acts as an irritant to the mucous membrane of the nose. So this is the reason why we sneeze. The next reason why we why there are hiccups. Hiccups are the sudden movements of diaphragm itself. Actually, these are the movements of the diaphragm. These movements of the diaphragm, they are actually not at all voluntary, because it is not under the will of an organism. It is against, or it is not according to the will. It is involuntary. You have no control over hiccups, as all know. So there are many causes of hiccups. Why these hiccups occur? The diaphragm may get irritated sometimes. You may have eaten so fast, or maybe some substance in the blood could even have brought on the hiccups. So there is some obstacle in the blood itself, or you have eaten so fast that the food is actually obstructed somewhere, and this results in the sudden movements of the diaphragm up and down, and this results in the hiccups. So this is what a complete human respiratory system is. This is a nasal passage, this is a oral cavity, pharynx, larynx, then trachea, which is a C cartilage shaped structure, which is bronchi. This is a complete bronchi which is leading to each of the lungs, and this bronchi further divides into several branches which are known as secondary and tertiary bronchioles, and these are kept in a sac-like structure which we call alveolar sacs. So this is a heart and these are the ribs. So this is how a complete human respiratory system is.